Train the muscles, not the joints. Okay, so welcome everybody to Friday Q&A. And today I just want to let you know I'm on Instagram right now. So some of you have been asking me to get on Instagram. So I have no freaking idea why you want me to get on Instagram, but I'm on there anyway now, so you can find me. There you go. Okay, see, I do everything you guys tell me to do. No, I don't. No, I don't. Okay, all right. So anyway, Jim Dano, one of your million questions I'm going to answer probably today. This is one you say, hi mate, I've noticed that you seem to stretch as you feel the need during the workouts. Do you ever stretch after training or just during? And you're saying that your chest sometimes rolls forward or you have an imbalance in your shoulders and all this kind of stuff. Well, that imbalance that's going on in your shoulders might be because of the labral tear that I think you talked about before. I think you said you have a labral tear in one of your shoulders. That's not going to be fixable with stretching, just so you know. You're not going to be able to stretch yourself into functionality if the joint isn't together properly, okay? Because a labral tear is like a golf tee. If it breaks, then the joint will be sitting down a little bit. Stretching might help you feel better. It might help the muscle do its job better. It might help it recover because it has to work twice as hard as a normal muscle to keep the joint stable, but it's not going to correct the instability. It's not going to correct the function, okay? It's kind of like having a broken bone. If you have a broken bone, stretching the muscles around the broken bone is not going to help the broken bone, although it may help you get some relief in your muscles because they're trying to overcompensate to keep the bones together, okay? So do I stretch during the workouts or after, or do I make a whole sort of process out of it? No, I don't. I don't do a yoga session, or I don't do these things where, you know, there's this big, one thing I want to get to right now is that there's this fragmentation going on right now with fitness or with everything, where everybody separates everything into one specific category. But what I do is I integrate everything all together. I make a holistic approach to it, right? Like I don't have a moment of the day where I just breathe. And then the other part of the day where I actually exercise when I hold my breath, right? So what I'm doing is I'm integrating everything together. So as I feel the need, I do stretch. So for instance, when I'm making myself breakfast this morning or coffee or whatever, and I feel that my hamstrings are tight, I might just go down and stretch for a little bit, as I'm making my coffee, you see? So there's a lot of stuff that I do just instinctually during the day that a lot of you guys might not be doing. But when you're more connected to your body, this will naturally just happen, right? The more connected you are to your body, you're just naturally going to feel your way through your day and then make adjustments as you go. So I would recommend stretching throughout the day constantly instead of just waiting for one particular moment, because this will constantly restore some sort of proper tension and tensile strength in the muscle all the time, and you're going to stretch as you need it, right? So if you're standing up all day in your job, say you do construction or say you're a truck driver or whatever it is, and you're sitting in a seat all day, you want to do periodic stretches or just movements and just move through different ranges of motion as you can and as you have the opportunity to, right? Rather than waiting till everything becomes a catastrophe and then doing one stretch session, right? So it's more of an integrative approach. It's more holistic. That's the way I function with my training, and that's what I'm asking you guys to do, is to feel constantly in the body. Don't just feel your body when you're working out. Feel 24/7 as you're walking around and going about your life. Continue to feel the body, and that will tell you what you should do with your diet. It should tell you what to do with your sleep. It should tell you what to do with your stress and your stretching. Everything to do with that, okay? So I hope this helps you with this question. I'm sure I'll be coming around to you again with another question because you have about 1 million, eh, Jim? So you're gonna have to send me a check, I think. Yeah, send me a check. Okay, so shoot 'em up. You're asking me, what do I do about stretch marks? What is this, like a Lamaze class or something? I don't know. It's hilarious. Look, I don't know. I didn't do anything to do with my stretch marks. And yeah, I don't know. I used to have stretch marks here, and I still have them, I guess, but they kind of fade away over time. But the only thing that I can honestly tell you is that I've done a lot of meditative practice and chanted certain mantras and worked with energetic medicine. And that's the only way I can probably explain that maybe some scar tissue is going away and some things are happening in my body that I can't explain through some sort of normal cosmetic sort of thing. Like I don't use skin creams on my armpits or something. Like none of that's happening. It just naturally they just faded away. So in time, perhaps your stretch marks will fade away too. Ultimately, having enough essential fats in your diet will probably help with that because you want to make sure the skin is moisturized through your nutrition in order for this to happen. So that's the only recommendation I can give you. Also, vitamin E cream and stuff is supposed to help with this sort of thing. But honestly, it's really never something I've given any thought to. I was always proud of stretch marks, to tell you the truth. Now, you talk about clear skin. Now, this is something I want to talk to you a little bit about that a lot of teenagers deal with, and I dealt with this when I was first training, when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, because, we always say, the hormones are different at that point, and sometimes you get acne on your back or your skin or you sweat or whatever. But one thing I discovered, and I discovered this at 22 years old, was that it wasn't as much a hormonal thing and a puberty thing that was causing the acne on the back or some sort of pimples and things. What was happening was that the skin was getting tighter and the muscle fascia was getting tighter, so then the lymphatic system could not deliver and take away toxins and bacteria from the skin, okay? So when you grow muscle, you stretch the skin. You know, you all see that with steak. There's this like fascia, there's this sinew, right? Well, this sinew covers up your muscles, and when your muscles stretch, then there won't be proper circulation to the skin back and forth. So how did I fix this? I went to massage therapy and they did something called skin rolling and stretching out that fascia, and then I got better circulation to the skin and it cleared everything up. So this can also be applied to your face. So rather than putting that toxic shit on your face or toxic crap that a lot of people are peddling these days, actually work with a massage therapist to see if you can establish more blood flow to the area, and that will most likely clear up your acne problems. Okay, so shoot 'em up. You're also asking about training triceps. Should you keep the elbows out or in? Well, you know, that's going to be different for each person, and it's going to be different depending on which part of the tricep you want to work. And I'm going to just ask you, what are you feeling? You know, that's really the most important question in this whole thing. Like, what are you feeling? Like, are you just having a numb sort of, you know, opiate experience when you go to the gym? Like, you're just totally numb from the neck down. You can't hear, you know, feel your arms no matter where they are, right? You know, when you're doing close grip bench press that you're probably feeling a burn in the shoulders. Perhaps you're feeling some triceps, you know, but whatever is giving out first, whatever is hitting failure first will be what you're training. So my answer to you is that if your elbows are in and you're pushing and you notice that your shoulders are giving out first and your chest is giving out first, that there's just so much of a burn in there that you can't go anymore, guess what? This is what's adapting, and I would recommend changing your form accordingly. So perhaps then you need to flare the elbows out just a little bit and then come down to the range of motion where you're just using triceps and not bringing in the chest and the shoulders quite so much. So you're gonna have to feel your way through this. And once you feel the triceps give out, then you know you're actually hitting the tricep. When you feel the burn in there, that's when you know the tricep is actually the weak link, and that's when you'll get results in the tricep. Now, if you have golfer's elbow, like you mentioned, you know, there's no real quick fix for this. You know, you're gonna have to rest a little bit. I recommend taking a supplement called glucosamine sulfate as well as MSM. These two supplements can really help, along with increasing your fish oils. These things will also decrease the inflammation in the area and help lubrication of the joint and help clear out some of that inflammation. But ultimately, it's going to take a week or two, maybe a month for this to clear out. And I also recommend some massage therapy, because just in case, you might have just tight muscles that are causing the joint to grind. And this might be because you have an injury in that area, or you were doing improper form and then the muscles are spasming, so they're causing everything to be too tight and everything's grinding, and that's causing a chronic inflammation. So you want to address that as well with a massage therapist, okay? So Jay Bradley's asking me if you could have more than 20 grams protein in a meal. Now, Jay, if you watched my all day of eating, you'll notice that I was having about 12 ounces of top sirloin steak every single meal, or, you know, 2 or 3 meals a day anyway. So in 12 ounces of steak, there's about 70 grams of protein. So the obvious answer to this is yes, you can have more than 20 grams protein in a meal. You can have 100 grams protein in a meal, you know, whatever you can digest, right? And the thing is that you have to find that sweet spot about what the right gram dosage is for you. But what I find is when you split your meals up over 5 meals in a day, rather than saying, oh, I gotta eat big meals only 2 or 3 times, you'll have a tendency to have more stable blood sugar. And when your blood sugar is more stable, you're going to be able to absorb more of the nutrients, and you will be able to burn more fat. And this is going to give you more energy when you go to the gym, because every time your blood sugar drops and you get that super hungry feeling and you have to eat, that will wear your nervous system out and your immune system out. So by the time you get to the gym, you're actually already drained. So I know you're probably asking this question because you want to cheat. You want to basically just have 2 meals and just put it all into, you know, all your requirements in those 2 meals in a day. But that's not going to have the same effect as eating regularly throughout the day, right? So Captain Video is asking about deadlifts, and he's saying that he has 4 herniated discs, and which deadlift should he choose if he has to choose between the sumo or the conventional or the Romanian deadlift. And my answer is, again, you have to feel your way through this, because I know how finicky back problems can be. And sometimes one range of motion that will hurt one person will not be a problem for another person. But in my experience, I would say the sumo would probably be the most safe compared to the conventional, because the sumo, you're staying a little bit more straight up and down. And second of all, I would recommend the Romanian for rehabilitation if you can. You must start really light. You must start extremely light in this if you're gonna do it. Make sure your knees are slightly bent and your back is arched, okay? But the reason why I recommend the Romanian deadlift is because it'll help stretch the hamstrings so your body will get trained to fire the hamstrings without rounding the lower back. And that will assist your back with not taking quite so much damage, I guess. Because whenever you round the back, that's when the ligaments take the damage, and that's when the discs pop out the back, which is most common for disc protrusions, right? It's the disc usually is popping out the back or the side, right? So you want to make sure those ligaments aren't exposed or accentuated. The weakness of those ligaments, you don't want them accentuated, so you want to make sure the back stays in the right form as much as possible. And through stretching the hamstrings and getting them strong while maintaining that arch, that's going to assist you with not having those back flare-ups, right? So Jay Bradley's asking me, do I take a multivitamin? And yeah, sometimes I take a multivitamin. I find vitamin C is a good supplement to take, because sometimes when you're eating lots of protein, you're not getting a lot of fruit and vegetables. And not to mention that a lot of times the vitamin C is destroyed in a lot of the vegetables that are sitting on the shelf for long periods of time. I find vitamin C is really good. Vitamin C also is good to take with meals because it acts like an insulin mimicker as far as it helps you pull nutrients into your body. And at the same time, vitamin C is used for collagen production, so it will help you with ligaments and tendons and any sort of tissue that you need to build. So I recommend vitamin C. Okay, so Andy 000 is asking me if he trains for several months or a year and then takes a month off, if by doing that, that would be a good thing. If he would actually enhance his gains or make more progress that way, because he's giving his body a massive time off. Now, I don't know that the school of thought is two different ways in this. Like you could think of it differently. Me, I never took a month off unless I had to for injuries or something. But I have seen people that have trained for 6 months straight and then they take two months off or a month off, and they're pretty extreme with this. They seem to come back with a new fervor, a new passion for training. So I would say whatever makes you passionate about your training is going to be more important. So if that month off is going to help you with that, then I would say, yeah, it will help you make more gains and more progress. But if it's something that you're just doing because you think you're supposed to do it and your body's still revving to go, you're still chomping at the bit like a racehorse that you want to get in the gym, I would say just stay in the gym. Just make sure your nutrition and your sleep is good and you're not experiencing any symptoms of overtraining or injury. But if everything feels right, then just continue training. So there's really no right way to answer this. There's really no right way. It's just a matter of going on your own feeling. But yeah, taking a month off is never a horrible thing, because it is good to sometimes give your body time to rest, especially if you're training in really heavy weights all the time with the lower back movements like deadlift and squat and stuff. I could see there being some benefit to the joint and tissue repair, because ligaments and tendons take a lot longer to repair than muscles, right? So taking some time off, say you go on a vacation somewhere, taking some extra time off could be of benefit, right? I did that with Italy a couple years ago. I took about 6 weeks off training, right? So Jim Dano's asking me my opinion on hemp protein, because he says he does construction all day and wants to be able to eat on the go, or eat protein while he's actually working. I've never really drank a lot of hemp protein, and the stuff that was hemp protein or pumpkin seed protein, that kind of stuff, I found that stuff was really tough for me to digest because there's so much fiber in there. And but is the protein good? I'm sure it is, but I don't really have much of an opinion on it. So I don't have much experience there. Whey protein, I feel a little bit better on. It seems like it gets absorbed faster, but you're gonna have to go on personal preference on this, because different people have different allergies or different reactions to different foods. So what might be right for you might be a little bit off for me, depending on our blood types and all that. So my only answer to you is really just try it and see. If you're getting extreme sharp pains and you're not feeling right, then I would say, yeah, maybe that won't work. Maybe you're gonna have to go to just eating a handful of nuts and seeds in between meals to keep your blood sugar stable, and go from there, right? So Dave Clifford is asking me my opinion on trap bar deadlifts. And they're a deadlift, they are a deadlift, they're effective, but they're different than a deadlift as far as they're more like a squat with you holding onto the weight in your hands, because the center of gravity is right beside your legs. So it's a lot like a squat, but take a lot of the lower back out of it, which is kind of the opposite of deadlift, because with deadlifts, you're actually asking a lot more lower back to be included in it, right? So are they a good exercise? Yeah, but I would say they're a better exercise for building legs and your upper traps, in my opinion. You'll build more of the lower traps and more of the lats if you're more bent over and you're pulling the weight like that, kind of like a part row. So it depends on what you're looking to build. If you're building your traps and you're trying to build your strength in your legs and keep that arch in your back as you really fire those quads, I'd say trap bar deadlifts are great. A lot of people use them as a beginner program to learn how to deadlift, right? Because the farther the bar gets away from your front of your body, the more in front the bar gets, the more advanced you have to be and the more strong you have to be in keeping that lower back arched. And it's very hard to do that when the bar is away from your center of gravity. But the trap bar enables you to start learning how to keep the hamstrings loose and flexible at the same time as firing them to lift something up. So in this way, trap bar can help increase your deadlift because it may help you really get that mind-muscle connection with the hamstring and the lower back at the same time.
Is that a machine?
No, it's a bar, hence trap bar.
Is it the one with the bends in it?
That's easy curl bar.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
So Hockey Guru is asking what I do to warm up before I train. I walk in the gym. That's basically what I do. And sometimes I've ridden the bike for a few minutes to get something going if I feel extra tight that day. But most of the time I just use extremely lightweight with exactly the exercises I'm going to perform, right? So it's real sport specific type of warm up, right? So when I'm gonna do bench press, I might bench with the bar and just sit with that bar on my chest for a bit and just do a couple of reps really slow. Sometimes I'll just hold weight in place for a period of time and just get that little bit of a burn in the muscle going. Anything to get the blood flow to the area, but usually I just use the exact same exercise that I'm going to perform. And then I may do a light stretch depending on how my muscles are feeling, right? But that's about it. That's what I do mainly for warm up. So Rick Nash, I'm assuming this isn't really Rick Nash because if it was, he wouldn't be tuning into my channel. But Rick Nash, professional hockey player. I'm speaking to somebody off camera. So Rick Nash, he's asking if he alternates between bis and tris or just does bis first then tris in his workout if that's better. And again, there's no real answer to this. I find that it's great to really burn a muscle out and do as many reps as you can and as many sets as you can and then move on to the next muscle. That's mainly how I train. But sometimes through fatiguing the tricep, you will notice because of the tightness in the tricep that the bicep will feel different when you train. So there's a few different ways you can approach this. One is you fatigue the biceps first, then go to triceps. Next is you fatigue the triceps first, then you go to bicep training. And third is the other alternative you talked about, which is going back and forth. So you do 3 sets of one exercise for bis, and then you do tris for 3 sets on another exercise, and then you go back to bis and so forth, right? So I would approach it from every angle. As a bodybuilder, you're trying to basically hit the muscles from every possible angle and every possible way of hitting different fibers, such as endurance and power. And through doing these little changes in the order of how you do your exercises, this will cause a different type of adaptation in the muscle. So I think they are all valid. So try them all out. So Nada's asking me how many days off I take a week. And on average, I take 1 to 2 days off a week from training. But I usually go on feel. I don't have a certain set day. I don't have like Sunday I take off or Friday or whatever. Normally what I did with my training most of my life is that I would never take a day off, but then life would happen and then I'd be forced to take a day off. So for instance, next Wednesday I have to film a video for a client and I'll be gone out of town all day and I won't have a chance to really train or eat properly or anything. So what I will do then is I'll take that day off, right? So this is usually how I approach it. The other way is that if I'm training and I notice that my joints are sore and they're inflamed or I'm really not motivated to get to the gym, like when I get in there it feels like I'm just burned out and just dragging my feet, then I know that I'm probably due for a day off or a nap, you know, one of the two. Sometimes a nap will take care of it, but sometimes I'll just take the day off, right? So the genetic beast lobster is asking me one of these trick questions. He's saying, is there any way he can develop his legs with heavy squats, but not tire them out so I can still run a few times a week for the job he wants to get into? So here's the thing. Every athlete has a period of time where they concentrate on endurance and then they concentrate on strength, right? So if you really want this job and running a certain time or whatever is the most important thing to you, you have to decide what is the most important priority. You can't prioritize both. You can't be a Porsche and a 4x4 at the same time and a boat and a helicopter. You have to decide which one you want to be, right? So don't worry if you decide to do endurance training for a period of time and you're just doing light workouts in the gym. Say you're just doing light sets of squats and you're not going into failure to conserve your legs, right? But you want to maintain a certain amount of muscle mass. It's okay to run for a period of time and concentrate on your endurance because after a while, you won't have to run anymore, right? Because once this job's done, I'm assuming once you get the job or you pass whatever physical test that you're supposed to pass, then you can get back to training a certain way. So just treat it as a temporary vacation from heavy training. And if anything, it might actually help you blast through some plateaus, because sometimes just by changing your training and increasing endurance for a period of time, then going back into power training, that extra blood flow you get from the endurance might actually enhance your recovery for the heavyweight training. So it might be a good thing. So this is a common thing. You know, all sports athletes will do endurance training for a month or two, and then they'll do power training, and then they'll do hypertrophy training. Like, this will be a part of their training process, their seasons, you could say. This is part of their training seasons. So just treat it like this. So if I were you, I would just do medium weights. Don't hit failure. Just do sets of 10. Say you could do 15 reps of something, just do sets of 10 or 12, you know, to stop early and conserve your energy, so that way you can run the times that you need to run in order to get this job. That's what I would do. So Philip Cartaz is asking, he says he noticed that I'm looking a little tighter, that I'm losing a little bit of body fat or something, and he wants to know if that's from my training or my diet. It's actually from what I'm eating. I'm eating a higher amount of essential fats. I'm eating a lower amount of carbohydrates and starches, although I do have some throughout the day. But I've changed my choices down so that my calories are really low from the energy calories, and they're up higher in the protein calories. So this is what's causing me to lose body fat. My training has gotten a little bit more intense, but it's only because I'm having more protein in my diet and I'm recovering better. But it's not really the training that's causing the fat loss. It's because my training really is really similar to what it was before. But your diet is everything when it comes down to this, right? So if you're burning the same amount of calories every day, and then you lower the calories of energy food, you know, and I know I talked about this before, and calories not a calorie, but I'm just using that word just for explanation's sake. But when you lower the amount of energy foods you bring in a day, you automatically will start to burn fat stores, right? So you just don't want to do that too extreme, because if you do it too extreme, you're going to lose a lot of muscle with that as well. So you don't want to catabolize yourself. You don't want to burn up your own muscle. So doing this slow over a longer period of time is a better strategy. Just losing a half a pound a week is probably ideal, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just lose body fat slowly over a period of time. And sometimes I lose too much too quick, and then I have to up my calories again or up my food again. But I'm kind of playing with this just to slowly tighten up to see how lean I can get. So Eric M is asking if I train my core directly, and I would say no, I don't train my core directly. I don't buy into all this trendy crap of bouncing around on a ball and jumping up in the gym and, you know, doing the planks and all this kind of stuff. I mean, if your sport demands that, then do it. Perhaps you can do this and get some sort of result from it. I'm not saying it's absolutely useless, but you don't have to do it, you know? So most of you have noticed that when I do deadlifts or when I'm squatting, I don't wear a belt. You know, when I'm doing tricep press downs, I don't wear a belt. Like, I always see these pro bodybuilders wearing a belt when they're doing something like arm curls, and I never understood that. I never understood why they would do that. Because the thing is, when you wear a belt, then you're asking to splint up your lower back, and your lower back has a lot of little muscles in there, and that's where the core actually gets activated. So I depend on my workouts to automatically activate my core. So when I'm doing press downs, I'm actually working my abs. When I'm doing squats and sucking my belly button towards my spine, I'm actually working a lot of my core already doing that. So that's why I don't feel the need to do ab and core workouts. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that if you do a core workout and say you accidentally, you know, tweak your psoas muscle in the front of your spine, or you fatigue your psoas muscle or some of your core, and then you go to squat the next day, you might actually blow out your lower back. So the reason why I don't train core a lot is because I want to save the energy in there and the strength in there to stabilize my spine properly, so that way I can maintain the proper form of my lower back and make sure that I don't blow it out, right? So that's the main reason why I don't train core. Sometimes when I train core too much, I'm actually overtraining it, and then it doesn't have what it needs in order to keep my spine safe when I'm doing bent over rows or Romanian deadlifts or squats. Okay, so a question on my Facebook group from Taffy. He's asking about the fact that he works a lot of night shifts and he doesn't have a lot of time to train. Is it possible to get results from short workouts every single day? And I'd say, yeah, it is possible, but you just want to make sure you warm up enough so that way you're not rushing your warm-ups, because that will be a cause for injury, okay? So that's the one thing. You know, when you're doing this 20-minute workout and you're just rushing through everything, just trying to get everything done, you can't apply the cardio principle to weight training. That's the big thing for you to remember. If you start trying to rush the workouts, you will tear something, you will hurt yourself, because strength training is different than aerobic training, right? So when you're weight training, it isn't about getting a sweat, it isn't about getting the breath going, it's about challenging the tissue. And when you're challenging the tissue, you want to make sure that it's warmed up enough. So that's the big caveat I'll give you, okay? So yes, you can do quicker workouts and you can get some results. and I would recommend treating them as high rep days. So when you have to do a short workout, make sure you stay in the higher rep ranges, right? So that way you don't have to warm up quite so much and be quite so careful. But at the same time, on your days off, you will want to do your strength workouts then. When you do have time, at least once a week, you want to get in a good, heavier workout or something that challenges the other muscle fibers. If you don't do this, then your workouts every day will be more cardio workouts. You're not necessarily going to get the same results, especially if you're doing really short periods of time, all right? So this, of course, is different depending on the person's genetics and depending on your ability, to adapt and your ability to grow muscle, because everybody's a little bit different. But generally speaking, you will want to get in some heavier and harder workouts from time to time. And then those lighter, easier workouts will carry through and help you recover from them, right? So yeah, short answer is yes, but you still have to make sure on your days off that you get in some big hardcore workouts, I guess, or heavier workouts. Okay, Sasha sorry, I can't pronounce your last name, I don't know, it's W-E. So you're asking about pre-contest prep and whether I could talk about it a little bit. Honestly, what I'm doing right now is like a pre-contest prep. So if you watch my full day of eating, that's what it looks like. That's what my pre-contest prep looks like. And then as I go along, I see how my body adapts. If it's getting leaner, then I stay with what I'm doing with my diet, right? But if it starts to hit a plateau where it's not getting leaner, and say there's a schedule, like I know the show is in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks and it doesn't look like I'm on schedule, then I will lower the calories through fat or through carbs and replace them with protein in order to get leaner. So for instance, if I wasn't getting leaner enough right now and I thought, hey Jason, you got to get leaner here, I would replace some of the steak that I'm having in the day, because it does have higher fat, and I would replace that with a lower fat protein source such as chicken or fish, right? So this is kind of how I play around with the pre-contest, and then I basically just add a little bit of carbs every day, because I know that every week, all contests are on Saturday, basically, okay? So what I would do is I would journal and make sure I know exactly what I've ate, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I would see what I look like on each individual day, and then I would know how my body's responding to the carbs and the protein, right? So what I noticed years ago was that when I had a lot of carbohydrates on Wednesday, just filled up my muscles, make sure that they're all carved up, I noticed that by the time Saturday came, I looked great. But if I carved up on Friday, I'd look like crap on Saturday. And if I carved up on Monday, on Saturday, I still didn't look good, because it was almost like too long. My body had already burned up the carbs, so my muscles would deflate a little bit. So you need a little bit of carbohydrates in order to make sure that your muscles look full, right? And that's the whole goal of bodybuilding, is to be full and lean on stage, right? So you're kind of playing with these two ways that your body reacts. One is about water retention, and the other is about fat loss. And you're trying to basically hone in both of these factors, right? So yeah, generally speaking, this is what I do. And I drink a lot of water every day to make sure that there's no water retention, because then your body's always flushing, right? But that's it. That's really generally speaking what I do for pre-contest prep. So that concludes the Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Q&A on Friday. I hope that I answered some of your questions anyway. If you have any more questions, make sure you put them down below this video or any of the videos coming up this week, because YouTube is what I'm scrolling through to find these questions, and then I will answer them next Friday in the Q&A. Okay, so make sure you join my group, Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, on Facebook, and you can follow me on Instagram if you want, just to get boring photos of what I'm eating for the day or whatever else I'm up to. Okay, all right, so thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon.